So I'm about to go live there. Internet willing. Okay, cool. So we are live on Facebook. Thanks, Erin, for the reminder. I always forget to do that, so I appreciate you reminding me to do that. So yes, now I'm going to go ahead and share my screen yet again. And hopefully that means everything is working smoothly. People on Facebook can see this and y'all can see this, and tonight's going to go really well and it's going to be great. Yeah. So welcome everyone. So great to have you tonight. This is our July base member meeting. I hope everyone's having a good week so far. If you want to, go ahead, introduce yourself in the chat, or if you want to come off mute and introduce yourself, that's cool too. Just with your name, pronouns, and actually I'm interested in how you found out about this event, or found out about the base member meeting, or found out about Spark. So you can put that in the chat, or you can come off mute and tell us yourself. So I can start. Well, Agbo, pronoun she, her, hers. How I heard about this event: I'm the policy and advocacy director with Spark, so I work with Spark, and yeah, that's how I know about this event, base member meeting and Spark and everything like that. So if anyone feels compelled to come off mute or put in the chat name, pronouns, and how you found out about this event, please go ahead. I can wait for like 10, 15 seconds.
Hi. Oh, Erin, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I'll go after you.
Thanks. I'm Dia. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I heard about the event through the Spark newsletter. Just a big fan of the work. And I also know Kay. They're a fantastic person that I met a couple years ago. Thank you.
Awesome. Welcome. Who else?
Hey, y'all. My name is Erin. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm the communications coordinator at Spark. So obviously that's how I found out about tonight. I'm really excited about what we have in store. So I'm just glad that everyone's here to enjoy it with us. Thanks.
Other folks joining, other Spark folks, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hey y'all, my name is Alex. I'm the Law and Policy Fellow at Spark, and I found out about this event through work, and I'm so excited to be sharing this space with y'all tonight.
Hey folks, I am Marla. I am one of the board members at Spark, and I just wanted to jump in and just see what was happening tonight. It seemed like it was going to be awesome, so I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Welcome, Marla.
Hello, everyone. I'm Marlo, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. I'm one of the Light Fellow at Spark. Kay invited me, or Kelly invited me, and I'm excited to see or to learn something.
Well, awesome. It is so great to have all of you in this space. I'm very, very excited for what we have in store for tonight. And yes, Carter has put the Uber code in the chat, so please utilize that. Don't want y'all to walk away hungry. But as far as like what we have in store for tonight, so first hour or first 45 minutes-ish, we are going to be discussing part of our Power in a Name project. So y'all may have heard of this campaign that we're putting on to ease the process of getting your name and gender marker change in the state of Georgia. So this this project really started last year. We've been able to start, tentatively planning, but honestly, I thought that this would be a great space to really hear from our community members and get y'all involved as far as like the planning of this campaign. So that's the first hour, 45 minutes-ish. And then for our second hour, we'll be joined by Soul Lab, this great nonprofit organization, Black, queer, great organization that's going to give us a astrology 101 and how we can implement, sort of astrology and like our self-care practices. I'm very, very excited for this. Like y'all have no idea. And I hope that, we get just like great things from this. So yeah, I guess we can get started with Power in a Name. So like I said, this is a campaign we've started last year that would ease the process of getting your name and gender marker change in the state of Georgia. I really wanted this to be a space where we can have our community members input. So with this campaign, we definitely want to, before we even, get started on, strategy, tactics, even though those are conversations internally we've already had, but before we even get started, we got to get down to like, what's the problem? Like, why is this an issue? And, so we can figure out how to address it. So, when it comes to a campaign, you got to identify the problem, right? Then you have to, line it up with, sort of like your vision of, what you want the state to look like, this world to look like, what liberation looks like to you, etc. So, I'm hoping next meeting we can have conversations around like visioning, like, and then, we'll continue on just through the, I guess, campaign planning process. Hopefully, I want all of your input with all of this. Definitely all of your participation. I'm going to ask for your participation a bit tonight. As we, sorry, I'm turning on Do Not Disturb so people will quit disturbing me. Hopefully I want to get your input tonight so we can really just, have like just the great input we need from our community members within this campaign. So get started. Welcome, Mukwama. Just put your name, pronouns, and how you heard about the base member meeting in the chat. But yeah, let's get started. So I'm low-key too excited about this presentation because I worked kind of hard on it. It's a Prezi, it's cute. I haven't used Prezi since college, so I got to exercise some old muscles. So I'm hoping this goes well. But this presentation is part of the iceberg, like this iceberg activity. Basically, it's an activity that really helps us get to the root or like, the bottom layer, I guess, of the problem when it comes to, what we're trying to address when it comes to our Power in a Name project. This iceberg activity was one that I actually got from this organization called The Commons. It's either an organization or a website, but they have all of like these great campaign planning resources. Me being like, relatively like new green to, this campaign planning process, I'm always looking for new resources that I can use to facilitate it. So I thought this was a really, really cool resource. I thought it was cool that Prezi already had like an iceberg that I could use. So yeah, let's really get to it. So let's see what it's going to allow me to do. So I wanted to highlight the website a little bit because I definitely want y'all familiar with it. Hopefully y'all can see this screen. Are y'all able to see the website right now? Can you either give me a thumbs up or if you come off mute and say yes, no, something like that.
Yep, we can see it, Agbo.
Yeah.
So yes, this is our Power in a Name website. Definitely wanted to highlight this because I feel like it's going to be a great resource for the campaign. So just, a brief explanation of what the campaign is. This project will assist trans and non-binary folks in navigating the often lengthy name and gender marker change process by providing the resources necessary to make the current processes easier. In addition, this project will utilize grassroots organizing and advocacy to transform culture and policies in the state of Georgia. The project will work to take away barriers for trans and non-binary folks in legally changing their names and gender markers. So as you can see, sort of like in this description, yes, we want to shift policy. Yes, we want to change the, laws or, regulations that make this process so time consuming and hard. But, we also recognize that a big part of this is shifting culture. And that's really why, I definitely wanted to do sort of like this iceberg activity to sort of get to the root of the problem, identify like the systems, because if we do want to change culture, we recognize that, we need to know exactly what culture we're changing, like what are we targeting? So I'm going to switch on over back to, wait, actually, no, I just really want to share the website a bit. So that was the About page, just going to the home page. Beautiful page, designed by our own Kate Good, our trans leadership coordinator. Here on this website, if you are a person who has gone through the name change or gender marker change process and you want to share your story, you're able to do that. Part of shifting culture is storytelling. And, we definitely want to give you the opportunity to, share your story, to even get to a point where you feel empowered enough and powerful enough to share your story. Storytelling is a skill. Storytelling to affect change is an even larger skill. So, if you have a story around, or if you know someone who may have a story around going through this process, I definitely encourage you to utilize this site. I'm going to see about putting it in the chat as well. So yeah, I wanted to be real intentional around sharing this site and also, using this space to really get into the weeds of planning around this campaign, because it's definitely something, as, our, we're a very tiny organization, and as our capacity shifts, we oftentimes find ourselves not really, being able to attend to certain things like, honestly, like this campaign. So I definitely want to be very intentional around creating space for the planning and implementation of this campaign so we can affect, real change in the state. Okay, so now I'm going to switch on over back to the Prezi. So let's see. Let's do it. Okay, yeah. All right, so as part of this iceberg activity, we have to identify like the events, like, what's going on, what's happening, what sort of is the impetus for, this campaign, for, work that's being done, all of these things. So I found this video off of YouTube from PBS NewsHour. It really gives sort of like a breakdown of just all of like this transphobic legislation that's happening across the United States. So trigger warning for, that kind of anti-trans rhetoric and transphobic legislation. But, I think this will give sort of an explanation of, what we're really facing. Let's see if we can get into that.
Gender rights have been introduced this year in state legislatures across the country.
Just pausing real quick. Can y'all hear the video? I wasn't sure. I tried to share my sound and I didn't know if it worked.
I can't hear anything.
I can't hear anything either, but it looks like it's paused, maybe?
Oh, I paused it. I just wanted to pause it to see if y'all could hear. So let me start it.
John Yang reports on how the
Yeah, we can
legal
hear
and
it.
cultural battles are playing out.
Judy, the Arkansas legislature has passed and sent to the governor a measure that would ban physicians from providing established gender-affirming medical care to transgender children. Also yesterday, South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem signed executive orders banning transgender girls from playing on girls' sports teams. According to the Human Rights Campaign, an LGBTQ advocacy group, lawmakers in 28 states are considering 93 bills targeting the rights of transgender Americans. And sports bans in Arkansas and Mississippi are set to become law this summer. Kate Sawson is the LGBTQ reporter for the 19th News. Kate, can you give us an idea? There are a lot of bills, but can you give us an idea of sort of the range of things these bills would do?
Yeah, there are currently two main types of bills being considered in legislatures across the country. One, of course, is this transgender sports ban, which mostly seeks to limit transgender participation in sports, particularly transgender young girls playing on girls' teams. And then the other is a ban on transgender medical care for youth. So young people, when they reach a certain age, if they have gender dysphoria, which means that they experience mental duress because they are transgender, might not want to go through puberty. And so their doctors might prescribe them puberty blockers so that they don't have to go through puberty and can make a decision when they're older about whether or not they want to medically transition. So it's a temporary pause on puberty, and this would make it illegal for them to get that gender affirming care that medical organizations and doctors have decided is the appropriate care for transgender youth.
Kate, why are we seeing these bills? Are these in response to anything, response to incidents or cases across the country?
2015 saw the advent of marriage equality nationwide, and then there was a shift in terms of what LGBTQ advocates wanted to do, and they wanted to pick up trans rights. And there was also a focus from opponents of LGBTQ equality. They also wanted to focus on the advancement of transgender rights. And so the shift really became a focus on what we call bathroom bills, which was limiting transgender people from using public bathrooms. And the most prominent example that we saw was in North Carolina, which passed an anti-trans bathroom measure. That was repealed because the boycotts and the economic fallout were so severe that the state was set to lose $3.76 billion over the course of several years. And so those measures time and again failed. They failed at ballot boxes, they failed in state legislatures, and then the next wave of bills that we saw were these sports bills and these medical bans, and that's where we are today.
But are there cases of transgender girls trying to play on girls' sports teams and creating problems because of that? Is that what these bills are responding to?
There are a few examples of transgender girls participating in sports, but by and large, the Associated Press did ask more than a dozen different states lawmakers, do you have examples of transgender girls where this is an issue? And they said no, that this was a preventative measure. So transgender kids have been participating on sports teams for years and years and years, and we haven't seen this raised as an issue. It seems to only be raised as an issue when transgender girls win in their sports. And we have one prominent example that we can point to, which is Connecticut, where two transgender women were successful in their track competitions, Andrea Yearwood and Terry Miller. And the fact that they were both in Connecticut, they're both Black trans women, seems to have sparked quite a controversy in that state and seems to be the genesis for a lot of these bills.
So if there are not a lot of cases that this is responding to, and there's one case in Connecticut, why are all these other states doing this? Why is this coming up now? Why so many of these bills?
There's a few things. One is a lot of us, we know a gay person or a lesbian person, we might know a bisexual person. Transgender people are more of an unknown, transgender children even less known. And so this is an issue that the American public is less familiar with, right? It's easier to legislate around. And when we talk about an issue of fairness, in women's sports, it's really confusing for a lot of people, right? We all want to support fairness in sports. We all want to support women's rights. And so this is an issue that is easily confused. And then, we have this issue of major anti-LGBTQ organizations have taken this up, right? And have formed coalitions and have provided bills to these state lawmakers. You can go on and sign up for model legislation in your state, and you'll be provided a bill, whether it's on a trans medical ban or a sports measure, just by filling out a form as if you were signing up for a mailing list. And so all of these states didn't wake up in the same day and decide to essentially pass these bills in the same year. This is a push for a movement that is responding to the advancement of transgender rights.
Is this the latest case in the culture wars between the political parties?
This seems to be a response or a tactic to try to bring back white suburban women back to the GOP after, such a loss with the presidential ticket. The question is, will it work? The polling suggests no. More and more people know transgender people, and there is overwhelming support for the Equality Act, which would be landmark LGBTQ rights legislation federally. So more and more people support LGBTQ rights, more and more people support transgender rights. And this push to limit the rights of transgender youth doesn't necessarily seem to be a winning issue as a wedge issue. So it will be really interesting to see how this plays out as lawmakers push this, and the GOP voting base does not seem to support it, according to polling.
Kate Sawson of the 19th News, thank you very much.
Thanks so much for having me.
Okay, so that was just, a quick video to sort of show just like the issue throughout the United States. Of course, it wasn't touching on gender marker and name change specifically, but since, this meeting today, we're talking about, getting to the root of the issue, it definitely relates to, everything that we're combating as, organizers, activists, as an organization. So I definitely wanted to provide that context because, it's real, it's happening in Georgia, and it's, something that, we're going to be combating through the end of this year, next year, hopefully not next year, but maybe next year. And, it really applies. So this is the part where I definitely want some feedback and interaction from y'all. I really want to just get your idea of your reactions from the video, or, sort of like, just the brass tacks, what's the facts, like what just happened, what did you see in the video? And I am going to actually exit the presentation. Hopefully this works. Oh, what? So I can just put down your answers. So please feel free to put in the chat or even come off mute and just, give us an idea of like, what we saw in the video.
Yeah, the advocate made a great summary of how a lot of the rhetoric, states that there's this issue that doesn't actually exist with trans folks participating in sports, especially youth sports, and gave the example of what was happening in Connecticut and how that might be tied to race, as well as the gender identity of the young trans women who were called out for their participation and winning in their competitions. And yeah, just to summarize, like the key point, or at least what I heard there, was that it's not an actual issue. Like there's not a whole lot of evidence that trans folks are out competing other athletes. So yes, sorry, I hope that was words.
No, thank you. That was great. I mean, I think you summarized it nicely. Wondering about responses from other folks too. Thank you for that. Anyone else? What did y'all get from the video, or what did you see? Anything else you want to like summarize, or anything that like surprised you or stood out for you? All right, cool. I mean, I think we can move forward. We have some other, let me see if I can get back into the presentation. All right, cool. So we had an idea of what just happened. So I'm wondering if folks are familiar with what we may be seeing in Georgia. Why is it doing that? Okay. Anyone have any like idea or insight as to, what we're currently seeing in Georgia when it comes to these bills? Like rhetoric, things like that, or what like, maybe the culture is leading to around Georgia? Folks aware of any like bills that were introduced at the top of this year during legislative session? Or anything else?
I mentioned it in the chat, but I know we also had an anti-trans and youth sports bill here. And from what I remember, the rhetoric they were using was that they were just trying to protect women. And that's kind of how they went about advocating for this bill to not allow trans youth to play in on certain sports teams.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, we definitely saw a lot of just bills nationwide being introduced around anti-trans young folks competing in sports. Typing and talking at the same time. So, it's not just limited to Georgia, but we were seeing that nationwide. Definitely have that rhetoric and that tactic of, quote unquote, protecting women. I think we sort of saw that reflected in the video as well, where, the aim is to appeal to, I guess, white, middle class, upper middle class, cis women who, may, clutch their pearls and, be offended by this issue where there really isn't an issue at all. Okay, sorry, just saw that in the chat, Erin. So let me see if I can zoom out now. All right. So I'm wondering if it will let me. if anyone has any insight or any like just information, or even just from what you saw in the video around like, what are those patterns and trends that we may be identifying? Like what's been happening, thinking about, rhetoric from starting from, the bathroom bills and things like that. And I can even add that, bathroom bills. I don't know what it keeps telling me to do that. We got the bathroom bills in North Carolina. But at the same time, we had a lot of uproar around those bills. Anything else? Anyone have an idea of, other things that have been happening? Like any patterns or trends you're noticing?
I guess one trend is just trying to use fear as a tactic, and then also like using these kind of nationalized organizations to promote kind of a coordinated attack among different state legislatures as opposed to just like separate groups doing separate tactics.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. I think a good point is just like it's a coordinated attack. If formatting would let me live, we recognize that the quote unquote opposition is very organized, very coordinated when it comes to putting out bills nationwide that are harmful to our folks and to our issue and to our base. Using the same, talking points, rhetoric, what have you. And we've found that, it's semi-effective. But as, we're seeing, these patterns and trends, we're also seeing like, change within it. I think, people are starting to become more aware of the issue. We're seeing a lot of people getting, I guess for lack of a better term, like activated or involved because of it. Anything else anyone has noticed as far as like what's changing? All right, and we can move on to, I guess, what we can anticipate in that. So, where is this headed? We've seen, these bills be introduced. We've seen, activists coming, advocating like against these anti-trans bills. We've seen, more just conversation around the issue in general. But where do we feel like this is, headed? And we can be, completely, just optimistic about this. Like, where is, I guess, the culture headed when we think about, conversations around this issue?
I know in the news clip that you showed, one of the points that the person brought up was that not a lot of people know trans folks. And so that's why they're able to put these bills up and potentially get them passed. So I'm hoping that more folks know trans folks and have trans folks in their lives, and therefore there's less of a chance that these bills can slide under the radar.
Sorry, had to unmute. Awesome. I like that. I like that point. You know, more folks, even just becoming aware. Sorry, I'm typing faster than my cursor can move, so I'm just making sure that I'm not spelling anything. And I like that. I mean, I think that can definitely inform, you know, just the culture in general, that, you know, this isn't like, you know, a fringe issue, like this impacts like a huge part of our population. So folks becoming more aware of the fact that, you know, trans folks exist, they're in your lives, they deserve, rights, they deserve, equitable treatment. I think, that's a great place of, where this could be headed optimistically. That's where we want to see it go. Let me zoom out again. So I think this is when we get into like, the actual like, systems or the actual root of the issue. We talk about these systems that, Spark as an organization we're trying to combat, or, y'all as organizers and activists, want to combat. So when we think about, the structures that exist, what comes to mind when it comes to this, specific issue? Like what has influenced these patterns? How do they relate to each other? So when I say relationship between them, I'm thinking along like, these bills, the fact that, it is so hard to, change your name and or gender marker, the fact that, this is an issue that is, spanning the United States, that it's a coordinated issue. Just thinking about like what the relationships are between those parts. And then, speaking about like what are the rules, norms, cultures, values, and policies that sort of inform these structures. Like, one example, specifically, of course, are like, the rules and legislations and policies that, make it so hard to change your name and gender marker, that's in place. Thinking about even like getting down to administratively, like how hard it is to honestly combat these bills as an individual. Not to, like, of course, I like not to say that it's impossible. Of course, it's stuff that people have been doing for years and been doing successfully. But the system, or the capital, or the powers that be make it very, very difficult to affect change that challenges the powers that be. So yeah, just even thinking about like even those like administrative like rules and things like that, or those barriers, those definitely inform why this is an issue today, and why we want to combat that issue. And it definitely informs like what systems we're targeting when we're trying to combat this issue. And then getting down to, the bottom of the iceberg, like, exactly, what's informing these systems. And I think it's very, very interesting that the bottom of this iceberg isn't like the systems itself, but really like the culture that perpetuates these systems. I think that's really, really important as, we strive to shift culture in this campaign and as an organization. So we think about, what assumptions and beliefs folks hold, or what beliefs keep these systems in place that really uphold these systems. And as a result, I think it's definitely going to inform how we're able to transform those systems. So I think, us as, Spark base members, or Spark folks just attending these meetings, or even internally as we plan out this campaign, I think it's really going to help us see exactly what we mean when we say we're shifting culture. What exactly are we shifting, like what attitudes, what beliefs are we shifting in the culture, and how can we go about that. It's definitely going to inform the tactics that we use. So I definitely wanted to leave with that when it comes to even just like any issue you're trying to change or combat, or just any campaign you're trying to get off the ground. I think it's really, really important that you have a base of, what exactly, is perpetuating this specific issue that, you care about, or the specific, policy that's in place. Once you have that, you can have broader conversations around, of course, changing the legislation, getting that bill changed. But, it's also an issue of changing the culture. Like, how are you going to get support around, shifting legislation, if you don't have, the support in place, just culturally, if conversations aren't changing. So I think that's like, really, really important to note. I think a great example is from, North Carolina a few years back, where, they wrapped up the issue, and, of course, they can talk about, rights to privacy and things like that. And they tied it to, how it's going to affect the pockets of North Carolina. But I also believe, they definitely were great at framing the issue as, something that, like, as even like cis individuals, like, why would, like, you can relate to, or not that you can relate, but more that, like, you can understand this an issue of, targeting someone for, who they are, as they're really just trying to, use the bathroom, right? So like I said, definitely want to keep these assumptions and beliefs in mind, and think about, those assumptions and beliefs as, we go through this campaign, and help us inform like how, we want to do the work. So yay, I am going to strive and see about putting this in the base member meeting folder. Prezi isn't like PowerPoint or Google Slides, so I don't know how it works as far as like permissions, but I'll try my best to get it in there. And then if it is, editable, or if I can make it, so that it can be edited, definitely want to, folks to contribute their thoughts and anything that comes up for them. Oh, thanks, Carter. Yeah, if I can download it, that would be amazing. And hopefully I'll download it and put it in the folder. But yeah, so we've reached, I guess, the end-ish of the first hour. In a few minutes, we'll be joined by reps from the Soul Lab, who are going to lead us through an astrology 101. So in the meantime, you can get up, stretch, use the bathroom, get your food if it hasn't arrived already, or order your food if you haven't already. Because like I said, I'm really, really excited about this part of the meeting tonight, and I hope y'all are too. So I guess I will see y'all in 10 minutes. Hey, welcome, Tay. It's Agbo. You don't.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good. How are you?
Pretty good.
Folks are just taking a break. We're gonna get started around 7 for your part of the presentation, and I think I can go ahead and make you the host.
Okay.
Your screen. Let me see about that.
Awesome. Can you hear me okay, by the way?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you great.
Perfect. Aileen's here too. Hey.
Hello.
Oh, hey. It said Black Jesus Barbie, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, I don't know how to update my name. I was trying to update it, and I was like, oh my God, I don't know how to do that.
She's also a Black Jesus Barbie, if you didn't know.
I mean, I'm with it. But y'all are co-hosts now. Thank you, Carter. So you should be able to share your screen or do whatever you need to do.
Okay. Here we go. You see that, Aileen?
I can see it.
Cool.
Yeah, I can see it too.
You can see it? Okay. I didn't know if you walked away or not, Agbo.
Oh no, I'm always here.
Oh, okay. Got it.
All right, that is 7 on the dot. So hopefully folks have returned to their seats and they're ready to get into this. Again, I would like to welcome Soul Lab for hosting this space, for getting us into some astrology one-on-one, and very, very fortunate and excited to have them here. And as Tay, we discussed on the phone, definitely hope to have you in the space again. So I will give you the floor.
Awesome. It's 7 there, so good evening, everybody. It's 4 here. I'm in California, so I'm a little bit behind you guys. Hope everyone's doing well. We are super excited and happy to be here too. So thank you so much for inviting us. And we hope to come back in the future for sure. So my name's Tay. Aileen's here as well under her disguised name of Black Jesus Barbie. First, I want to talk a little bit about the Soul Lab, and then we'll just dive into astrology, because really, what we do at the Soul Lab has a lot to do with looking at natal charts and understanding everyone's vibe and all of the different energies that make up who you are. And so like our tagline is everyone's on a spiritual path. Most people just don't know it. And we see like you can kind of identify the spiritual path using the natal chart. And I'll get into that later. But it's interesting because, you find out things that you really don't know. And you're like, but subtly you're moving in this direction. And astrology is a really good way to just have it in a logical way, scientific way, like seeing that energy on paper, and understanding what those vibes are. So I'm Tay, and that's Aileen. I'm a shaman, and which is really kind of a healer of some sort. I do a lot of blending and connecting with people to understand what they really need to hear, the messages they need to hear, the healing that they need to kind of move forward and elevate and break old patterns, or heal their inner child, or break through the trauma that they've had in their life. And a large part of what Aileen does is create content for our blog. So we have a blog as well at thesoullab.com. And these are just kind of a couple examples of some blog posts that we have. And really, it's an educational experience. So, our job really is to provide the broadest view of spirituality, agnostic of any religion, any creed, any sex, and provide a clear view and all of these different perspectives. Then it just allows you to make the decision for yourself based on what connects to you. We're all about kind of keeping an open mind and just, keeping your perspective broad. So we've got blog posts kind of about spirituality as a whole, dealing with our subconscious shadows and, past trauma, things like that. We're moving into having some more meditations, audio meditations on the blog site. So we have one, the inner child meditation. You guys can check it out. It's really great. I think you don't realize how much of these patterns come back into your life. And as you grow and change and do new things, depending on your childhood experience, that really establishes how you're going to interact with the world when something new happens. Do you have instant anxiety, or are you taking on things, optimistically or boldly, kind of based on that childhood experience? And then, some more articles about telepathic waves and communication, how kind of relationships are like our selfies, our mirrors. So yeah, you guys can check it out and feel free to read some stuff and send us back a note. We love chatting and interacting with people and seeing kind of what their response is. Another huge part about the Soul Lab that we do, so psychological astrology, looking at astrology from a psychological, emotional, mental standpoint, and understanding, how that energy makes up who you are, how you experience the world. And, one large part about the Soul Lab is these soul sessions that we do, and they're, one-on-one with me. I'm using your natal chart kind of as a guide. Aileen and I look at your natal chart first, kind of behind the scenes, and then it's you and I together kind of talking through the things that I see and we see, and, ways that you can improve and grow, or maybe some subconscious patterns that, you're not aware of, but you keep finding yourself in the same place, things like that. And then we also have Soul Sundays, which includes, shamanic drumming meditation. So drums are kind of, they're kind of get you at a soul level. There's something about the rhythm and the drums, and it gets down to kind of the cellular level. So it's like some things that are hard to communicate. You don't understand why you're feeling a certain way. The drums kind of help you release all of that without having to say any words. So that we've been doing as a group. And on Soul Sundays, we do a quick meditation. I talk a little bit. It's kind of like our virtual church, and it's like a come one, come all kind of thing. So those are a couple of things that we do. And, we're all about holistic health. So you'll see, information about Qigong and understanding how to move your Qi and balance yourself, crystals and what that means. I don't know if you guys can see me, but I'm always having, crystals around me. I got orange calcite. I have things that keep me grounded. Clear quartz is always really good to block off like negative energies and stuff like that. And another huge part, of my life is herbal. I haven't taken a Tylenol or ibuprofen, any of that kind of stuff in a couple of years now, and have truly just been trying to use herbs as the natural medicine to help alleviate any kind of stress, mental, tiredness, pain, all of that. And you really can do that, not only like the physical pain and situations you go through, but also the emotional and being depressed or, not having a lot of energy and stuff like that. So the Soul Lab is really, kind of a holistic entity. And, our job is really to connect with people. All of our services are free. So I don't charge anyone for having a soul session with me. We read their charts for free. We provide them a write-up after the fact for free. And we do all that just, because our job is here, to help people. And, just like you don't have to pay to go to church, we don't really want you to pay to actually learn about yourself. So that's that. Any questions or comments? Cool. All right. Okay, but we're here to talk about astrology 101. So enough about us and more about astrology. So astrology, understanding your soul's path. Now, there's a couple of concepts that you have to really understand to provide you a good foundation about astrology. And, one thing you need to understand that it's just all about vibes. It's about understanding the vibrations of the sky. And everything, in life has a vibration. You remember chemistry, you break down the atoms to positive and negative charges, those energy, right? All of those atoms make up everything around us. So there's always, vibrations happening. But what we don't think about are the thoughts and emotions that create these vibes. We think about actions all the time or interactions. This person made me upset. But the actual feeling of anger, of being upset, of happiness, all are these levels of vibrations. And all of those together kind of make up our experience of the world. So a good example of this is like you're at a basketball game and, it's 5 seconds or 10 seconds left. And it's, the score is tied and you can actually feel the energy in the stadium. You can really feel like, wow, like I feel the crowd getting fired up. As a basketball player, I've fed off of that energy, and that's real. I mean, that's just from excitement. Everyone's excitement. Everyone's biting their nails and trying to, kind of win or lose or whatever the case may be. So that's just kind of an example. Same example of like, you have a friend or a coworker and you might be really excited about something that happened to you. And then you bring it to them and then they just make you feel like, I should have never said anything to this person. And their vibration was low, your vibration was high. And you can actually physically feel that lowering of the vibration. And those are just some subtle kind of examples of how vibes work. And you just magnify that by 1,000 and you have the planets. So each planet has its own vibration, positive and negative, depending on how you look at it, how you bring it in. You can have, too much of a good thing and be kind of overly expansive, or you could have not enough of this energy and have to compensate in some way, shape, or form. And so astrology is really the study of all of these vibrations, and how we bring them in is based on our natal charts. And I'll get into that later. But the interesting thing is that humans actually have a lot of the same atoms and elements as the planets do. So when we're thinking about phosphorus and carbon and all of these things that are in us and in our bodies, they're also in the sky. So there's like a direct connection between us and the stars. And in that subtle pull, you feel that energy. And really it starts with kind of being aware of these things, and astrology kind of helps you align. So you understand, wow, there's a lot of energy in Mars, in this Aries sign, okay? And Mars is there and all these other planets are there. And now I know that just because that there's so much in Aries that maybe I'm gonna be on edge. I might be a little hot-headed. I might blow up, quicker than I usually would. So let me try to meditate more this week so I can balance out that energy. And you start to kind of align. And, if you heard the saying, as above, so below. So, a lot of spiritual people, astrologers who predicted, COVID, they talked about, it's all about, this was a visual representation of all of our inner energy, our, disconnection from ourselves, our self-hatred, our, not giving ourselves any love. And it forced us to turn inward because we didn't have a choice. We couldn't leave the house. We had to be with our family. We had to think about what we really wanted. So that's kind of a microcosm of that connection. So astrology is our map of the soul. And it's our guide to understanding our talents, our hidden gifts, our challenges, our karmic patterns, generational stuff that we could be carrying from our parents, where our parents didn't really transmute that energy. And now it's upon us to do it. And now we have not only our own baggage, but their baggage as well. And it's marked in the stars. And our soul's purpose, our true happiness, and true happiness to who you really are, not, aligning to what's appropriate, what, your parents wanted you to do, or what society wants you to do. Kind of peeling back all those layers and being truly aligned to your soul, which is, the most important thing. So if we think about the natal chart, which, I know this looks a little confusing, it's a lot on the screen, but I'll walk you guys through it. So we have this natal chart, and really it's like a picture of the sky when you were born. So at that very moment, on September 1st, 1988, at 10:09 a.m., it was a snapshot when I was born. And that snapshot of the sky tells me where everything was in the sky at the time I was born. So let's say, for example, there was just a lot of energy in this quadrant of things. If we look at the outside layer of awareness of others, let's imagine that I had all my planets in Sagittarius and Scorpio and Libra. And then I could just assume I'm really good at reading other people and being aware of them. But where I may need to balance is my awareness of self. So visually, I would be able to see kind of where the energy is that makes up my personality and who I am. And then I could see, wow, I have a lot of energy in Scorpio. I'm kind of a mysterious, dark kind of person based on that. And so what I do when I look at people's charts is I assume things about them, and then they validate my assumptions, based on the questions I ask. So if we think about this, like the script of a movie, right? This is showing me, if I have planets in here, it's going to show me who the characters are in the movie. So the planets are the characters, right? And the way that they interact with each other, we'll see that based on the different angles that they make. And then we have the signs. The signs are like the mode of expression. So if I have a lot of energy, let's say, for example, in Pisces here, then I can assume certain aspects about this person. Okay, they're Pisces. Are they super creative? Are they musical? Maybe they kind of hide or escape a lot just based on, my experience of these Piscean people. And it shows the mode of expression. And then the houses are simply as that, where they're like the scenes of the movie. right? So this is where the action is taking place. So really simple to remember. Planets are the what, what's happening. Signs are the how. How is it going to happen? So if we think about this back to our acting movie scenario, let's take Denzel. Denzel is the planet. He is the energy. Denzel brings this certain kind of Denzel flex that not a lot of people can do, right? But the role that Denzel is going to play would be the sign. So now let's assume Denzel is going to have to play, back to that Pisces scenario, he has to play this creative, musical, vibey, poetic, intuitive kind of role. Now he's going to be a different kind of Denzel versus if he's playing an Aries role where he's the leader, he's shooting people down, he's chasing people, he's the champion kind of thing. He's going to be a different kind of Denzel, but he's still that energy, still has that vibe. And we'll get into like the kind of needs and wants that the planets have that, you know, kind of establish how we bring those vibes in. And then again, the houses are the where, so the setting. So we have planet, the energy, how that planet is going to be expressed, the sign, and where that energy will be expressed in the houses. So when I was talking about that snapshot of the sky, right at 10:09 a.m. when I was born, like let's imagine we took a picture of the sky, and that very first point when I took my first breath and I was welcomed is my ascendant. You'll hear the rising sign, and it's literally, you know, you rose out, you know, of your mom, you know, and really the rising sign is important because it's, you know, it's a point in time, and this point in time moves very, very quickly. All the planets move in this, you know, time frame, but the ascendant, especially, this point is at any time. Of course, you could be born, you know, at 10:09, 10:10, and so on. So that ascendant is, that point is moving, right? Based on when you come out, you know? And so when I was born, take a snapshot, the sky looked like this. And at that very moment, there was a Virgo, there was the placement of Virgo. So kind of to explain that the sky and the signs are like, you would imagine that if we have a pie, the sky is separated into these 12 different slices of pie. So, you know, let's say we have a timer going and it's just going around and around and around and around. And now people are being born and it stops. And now that's your ascendant. You know, we take a picture and we see where are all the planets in this pie. Oh, wow, we have the fifth slice of pie has a bunch of stuff here, but this other slice of pie is kind of bare. And then, but the signs themselves don't move. They're just fixed spaces in time. There's constellations of stars. So you kind of land into an area. Does that make sense to everybody? I can see what you're saying in the chat, but I hope so. So what is ascendant? The ascendant is, you know, the sign that you need to use to master, you know, your fullest expression with it, which is your sun. So for me, for example, I have a Virgo ascendant and a Leo sun. So I have to use the powers of the Virgo, my organization skills, my analysis skills, my introspection, my blending with people, trying to help people improve, and using those skills to rise into the Leo, the big sun, showy, expressive, the leader. But I'm using that rising skill set to rise into my sun. Right? So my ascendant is how I experience the world. I definitely experience the world in a Virgo way. I'm always analyzing, looking at situations, head on a swivel kind of thing. And it's really the vibe you bring everywhere you go. So your ascendant is actually like when people meet you, they meet you as this person. And it's kind of a misconception because we all, like a lot of people just identify with your sun sign. They're like, oh, I'm a this, you know. And there's, you know, 12 other different areas here that make up your personality. So your sun is just one aspect. Your ascendant is just another aspect. So when you look at astrology, you have to look at everything as a whole, because you could see, wow, you know, your moon is somewhere that's really fired up. But then your sun could be in a watery place, an emotional place. And now you're actually balanced. But if I just look at the sun, I'm only going to know this one aspect of myself. I'm not going to know that full picture. And this will make sense once I dive into to kind of what's what. So another concept that's just on a general tip that you should learn is yin versus yang, feminine and masculine. And as you know, life is all about balance. And with the planets, like that is the lesson, there's a balance of yin energy and there's a balance of yang energy. Where it's placed, causes us to sometimes have too much fire, too much air, too much water, too much earth. And our job is to recognize that this is how we're energetically set up. And because of that, I'm going to do these things to balance that energy. If I had a lot of fire in my chart, I would know that, wow, I'm really good at starting things, but actually, like finishing them and staying on track and taking my time, I'm probably not that good at. So because I know this, I'm going to try to put my energy on the other side and try to flip that. Okay. So yin energy, just think of yin, taking it in. Yang sounds a little more aggressive. That's yang, like, outward. So we have, initiating, action oriented, bold, vibrant, exciting, driven, the scene stuff. You can see that yang energy. You can't really see the yin energy. That's their intuition. That's the things that you feel and then but there's not something you can kind of put your finger on. You're just like, oh, I have this feeling about this person that I think they're kind of shady. But I'm not for sure, but it's like, that's the yin energy. Yang is like, when it's very, it's obvious, it's outward, so that's the difference there. And this is important because you'll see as I refer to the signs, I'm going to say like earth, yin. So we know it's going in and it's an earth sign. So earth is all about material security. These are the practical people. These are the Virgos, the Capricorns, the Taurus. These are building. These people are decent with money. They are the builders, they take their time, they dedicated, they hit their goals. But the other side of that is being really rigid and really fixed and really stubborn and, not very quick to change, sometimes materialistic because you know how to get money and now you're holding on to it, kind of thing. And each of these, like I said, with that yin and yang, everything's about balance. So you get kind of a mix between the two. Okay. And, there's a reason why I'm telling you in this way, because this has been the best way like that I have learned astrology, but it was from looking everything one by one. But now the way that I'm going to present this material is going to help you understand it holistically. So then when you see it, you're like, oh, I get it. Leo is a fire sign. We were talking about Leo season. This is the season to initiate things, get things done, spark those ideas, be super creative. Leos want to be seen. So it's a time to show out a little bit, It's a fire sign. So radiant, energetic, but on the other side, fire signs can be kind of impatient, a little impulsive, not thinking about stuff, just doing things, not without thinking kind of thing. And we have air signs, mental, social. So this is the Libra, this is Aquarius, this is Gemini. These are the social creatures, of the zodiac. These are like, I want to connect, I want to talk, I want to share communication and think. But on the low vibrating side of that, you could be a little detached. It can be a lot of nervous energy. When you think a lot, that can create nervous energy in your mind. So air signs, have to learn how to be grounded and balanced and breathe and, meditate. They're like, great for that kind of thing. And then we have our water signs, which are emotional and soul related. The Scorpios, the Pisces, these are the deep, I want to get deep. I want to talk. I want to transform. I want to, this is where the intuition, a lot of the unseen stuff happens. And then, with that, you have escapism, you have drug use, you have that same, you can escape in spirituality and you can also escape in drugs, right? Same energy, just different mode of expression, right? All right. Okay, so let's talk about sun and moon first. These are called the luminaries. They are considered planets in astrology, just for the lack of better, but they are the luminaries because they are stars, bright, bright stars, right? The sun, everyone says, hey, I'm a Leo, my sun sign's a Leo. that really is what you are, what you want to aspire to be. When I grow up, I want to be an entertainer. That's who I am. So that sun sign is aligned to that, right? This is your fullest expression of yourself. This is how you create things and express things in this certain kind of way. This is like what gives you life. Like I live for pizza in the morning. You might be like a Taurus. You like that material kind of booty version of things. And then we have the moon, which is, you know, all about the feeling. So when we think about the sun, it's our outward expression, our outer self, our ego, right? Which has its own journey, the hero's journey, right? I want to aspire to be this person. And there's, you know, you have to go on that journey. And you use your rising sign, right? I'm gonna learn the skills of my rising sign to rise into my sun, right? But that's just one portion of you. That's like your outer self. What about the inside? And that really matters. Like the moon is almost more important than the sun because it's your peace of mind. So if you're feeling crazy and you feel like everybody's against you, right? The way that you experience the world is going to be very different unless you felt like everybody's nice, everybody's positive, I'm optimistic. You're going to experience the world in a different way. So moon is all about your emotional security, your emotional self, what's going on the inside. That's usually attached to a lot of the memories we have, experiences. And that those two things kind of develop your conscious mind, which is the sun, you know, that portion of things, and my unconscious mind, right? That subconscious portion, you know, where you get that intuition, where you're dreaming and you feel those, you know, feelings when you just get a bad feeling about something. That's your moon, that's that intuition. So the moon moves every 2.5 days. So our emotional selves, you know, especially for us women, 28-day cycle, very familiar, right? That really changes with the moon. So every 2.5 days, this moon moves from Aries to Taurus, you know, and then 2.5 days later, on average, it moves to the next sign. Now it's in Gemini. So now my emotional self, my subconscious self is going to be, you know, feeling a different way. When it's in Aries, I might be feeling real fired up, you know, but when it's in Taurus, I might kind of want to feel like I just want to lay in my bed and be comfy and relax. And when it's in Gemini, I might really want to be chatting and you know, vibing with people. It just depends, right? Okay, so the way that I'm gonna explain this, the planets, I'm gonna start with those planets, right? And then I'm gonna talk about the signs that they rule, because the connection between the two is that each planet rules a sign, and some planets rule 2 signs. And when we think about that, it just helps you understand the sign too. So you're kind of getting a twofer. So we know the sun rules Leo. We were just talking about Leo, it's Leo season. So we talked about the sun, it's the fullest expression of yourself. Leo is the creative leader, that fire, that yang energy, outward expression. Excuse me. So Leos are kind of charming, you know, they like to make people feel good. And it's all about identity, fire, all about identity. So, you know, the Leos express themselves so that they can tweak and change their identity. You have a question? Go ahead, Agwell.
Oh yeah, I was wondering if like the planet that rules your rising sign, does that count as like your chart ruler?
Yes, it does.
Okay, sorry. I wasn't sure if that was true or not.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's your chart ruler. And, you know, it's kind of like, since it's your rising sign, that planet is extremely important, right? So in the example, me being the Virgo rising, Mercury is extremely important in my chart. So where Mercury is, you know, is going to kind of be double the energy because it's my chart ruler. And everything's going to have a flavor of Mercury. So your chart ruler is kind of sprinkled across. So if it's Venus, everything has a little flavor of Venus, you know. Cool. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, and feel free to ask questions. You can interrupt me. So don't be shy, y'all. Okay. So moon rules Cancer. Cancer is all about the feelings, the intuition. So you'll notice that a lot of Cancer people, we always say that they're overly emotional, and this, that, and the third, but really they're just super sensitive people. And they're picking up the energy from other people. They're, you know, you see your empaths or like Cancer, you know, that's when they know that you're sad and they just call you out the blue. And you're like, how did you know, Christine, that Josh broke up with me? Like, or whatever. They just know, they have that, they feel it. That's just kind of how it is. It's that yin energy. So again, you know, sun ruling Leo, yang, outward, moon ruling Cancer, yin, inward, you know, and balancing the two. So emotional security, what do I need to do to feel safe and secure? What do I need to do to express myself and grow myself to be the brightest version of myself? You kind of need both there. Okay, so let's talk about Mercury. Mercury is all about communication. So your communication style, when we think about communication, it's how we talk to ourselves, how we think, what we think about before we say what we have to say, you know? So if you have Mercury in a sign, like we were just talking about Leo and Cancer, let's say Cancer, you have Mercury in Cancer. Cancer, again, all about the feelings. So now I'm going to really be talking about how I feel if Mercury is in Cancer. I'm going to feel it, and then I'm going to speak based on those feelings. You know, if it was in a more logical kind of sign, then I might think and analyze and, you know, want to figure out what I want to say first, and then I say something. But it's in this emotional, watery sign of Cancer, right? So think about all the ways that we communicate, and that is Mercury, you know? So we sing songs, we communicate those vibrations, we write. Everything that you would do to communicate a message is Mercury, you know, is that vibration. So we think about astrology. We took a snapshot of the sky when you were born, and Mercury was in Leo. So now I'm going to communicate in a super creative, super expressive kind of way, you know, just based on that vibe alone. That's going to be my communication style, right? And my mode of expression. Mercury is very highly influential, right? So if you learned how to communicate in a toxic way, you're going to be a toxic communicator. It's not one of those planets that is very controlling. It's like a follower, we would think about. But it's really shaped by your experiences with people, your conversations with people. You know, if you have always been criticized for having a country accent or something, you know, you may now dim back the way that you speak because of this, you know, so it's influential, you know, kind of planet. Okay, and Mercury. So Mercury is one of the planets that rules 2 signs, okay? You know, it's interesting because we think about this balancing, right? So we have Mercury, and it's all about communication, but Gemini is the external version, right? Air sign, yang energy, external, outward, right? I'm going to say what I have to say. I'm going to meet people. I'm going to talk to people. I'm going to engage. I'm going to connect. Gemini is all about connecting the dots. Well, if this person, A plus B equals C, then C, you know, that's Gemini. Virgo actually breaks things apart. So yeah, A plus B equals C, but if we look at A, let's break it down into 16 different slices and see what A is really about. That's what Virgo is, that inward energy, that analyzing things. You know, people criticize the Virgo for the perfectionism thing. You know, I think they mean well at the end of the day. Sometimes they give their unwarranted opinion, but they definitely want to help you at the end of the day. So it's all about analysis. They, you know, they want to give back. And so that's that earth energy, that yin, right? Breaking down the info, breaking down and analyzing people. The Virgos are great at that. You know, introspection, analyzing yourself. So if you know, have a strong any planet really in Virgo, the energy of that planet is going to be inward. You're going to be thinking about, wow, okay, I have the sun in Virgo. Now I really am a type of person that's analyzes myself a lot. You know, so my fullest expression of myself is an analyzed version, and I've changed so much to make this the best version of me, because everything I do is very self-critical. It has to be the best because, you know, X, Y, Z, versus Gemini wants to connect and relate to people, and then they change over time based on those different interactions. So those are kind of the 2 different expressions of the energy of Mercury. So one planet, one energy, one Denzel, 2 different roles. Okay. All right. So we have Sun, Moon, Mercury. Now we have Mars and Venus. So you hear about Mars and Venus. I'm sure you've seen things on blogs and everything. We're talking about Mars and Venus. We always talk about sexual, you know, and Mars is like your sex drive, that animalistic kind of piece. And Venus is more like, I want to cuddle. Like, you know, Venus is is like, intimate and wants to connect, and it's what you love, like you're attracting what you love, versus Mars, you're going out and getting it, based on how you feel. And it's not going to take a lot of thought. Mars is like, I have this energy, I need to do this now, and Venus is like, wait, let's talk about this. Let's get deep. I want to feel, love. I want to connect deeply, and Mars is really, that high energy. So one misconception, people think that like they can control the energy that they have in their charts. It's not really about control. It's about awareness. It's like, now I know Mars is in Leo. So I'm going to have this unstoppable drive to create and be expressive. There's nothing I can do about that, So I'm going to go ahead and start owning this and putting more energy into that creativity, because now I can align with Mars, So Venus, let's say, what time did we have last time? Let's go Virgo. Venus is in Virgo. So now the things that I attract, the people I attract, I'm going to analyze the hell out of them, because now I have my planet of love and connection in this analytical sign of Virgo. So I'm expressing the energy of love in an analytical kind of way. Doesn't really sound like it mixes, right? So now, like, okay, I could see that and understand that, like, wow, people I meet, I kind of pick them apart, but it's because I have Venus in Virgo. So I have to remember that and understand that, it's not my job to change them. I might pick them apart, but I have to just, kind of put that on the back burner, put that on the side, but just know that I'm going to analyze them already, because that's just how the energy is made up. Questions, comments?
Quick question. I was wondering if like you have a a sign in its planetary ruler. Does that mean?
Yeah. So when you have signs in the planetary rulers, it's like being at home, that's like kind of the best placement you would want. So if Mars, for example, so we talk about Mars and Venus here, Mars rules Aries, right? So I would want Mars in Aries because it's actually the best way that you can express the energy of Mars. So, Venus rules Taurus and Libra. So if you had Venus in Taurus or Libra, it is the best way, it's the most comfortable way Venus wants to be expressed. So it's like you're at your house, you're at your crib, you're the most comfortable, that's how you would see it. Okay. Yeah, no problem. So Mars rules Aries. Aries is the initiator, getting things done. That fire, that yang energy, all about that action. Aries, they're quick to like, okay, let's do it, like quick. They're the ones who take the lead. They're independent. You don't want to try to tie Aries down. It's all about them, they're passionate. They have, that energy of Mars, right? That excitement, that drive. Mars rules Aries. So there's definitely that exchange. So if you can remember, wow, Mars is all about drive and getting things done. Aries, it rules Aries. So Aries is all about drive and getting things done. It is the expression of Mars. Okay. And it's really focused on the self. Aries is kind of all about themselves. So people kind of bash the Aries when they're a little selfish, but they have kind of tendency to do so. It's all about their identity, establishing their identity. So Venus, we were just talking about Venus. It rules Libra and Taurus. So again, we have one planet ruling two signs, right? Masculine and feminine expression of Venus. So we have Libra, which is all about balancing, right? But it's an air sign. So it's that yang energy. Remember, air is about mental and social connections. So Libra is about balancing. Libras always want to make everybody feel good. Everybody good? Libra's like the best person you would want to throw a party, because it makes he or she would make sure like everybody is good. Everyone's going to be comfortable. There's going to be great music. The vibe is going to be nice. It's going to be beautiful paintings. The house is going to be dope. Like Libras are all about artistic, musical things that look good and feel good. They're great mediators because they're all about balance. They're all about fairness and creating harmony, which is one aspect of Venus. So when you think about Venus being anywhere in your chart, you can look to Libra, you know, the definition of Libra and understand, wow, so Venus is a planet that creates harmony through connections. That's one expression, the outward expression. Okay, well, what's the inner expression of Venus? It's Taurus. Taurus picks up the vibes. Taurus is all about maintaining security. It's about, you know, making money, taking our time. It's going to be uphill battle. It's you know, hard work. It's really that slow, grueling, but I got to do it this way. And they're slow. So you'll look at Taurus and you want them to act and do something real quick. They're not going to do it. Taurus is about comfort, feeling good, chilling, you know? And so that's that inward expression of Venus. I don't need to be out there and chatting with people and connecting, because that's the Libra expression. When I want to be by myself, feeling good, you know, I'm going to look at Taurus. Okay. All right, so then we have, so those are all the inner planets, right? We talked about the sun, talked about the moon, we talked about Mercury. So we have our outer selves, our inner selves, how we communicate, right? We have our drive in Mars. We have what we attract and you know, what like people see that is hot in us, you know, is also where we can find Venus, like all that attraction kind of thing. And now we move to Jupiter and Saturn. And they're kind of the bridge planets. Jupiter is a bridge between these outer planets, which are much, much harder to understand, because we have these inner planets. Most of the time, you really feel the inner planets. Like I would really know who you are by looking at just those planets, you know, on the inside. But if you wanted to know like your broader horizons and understand, how do I expand towards my highest good? How do I connect to my higher mind? What do I need to improve so I can elevate, you know, and level up? Now we're looking at, you know, what's beyond us. And we're starting with Jupiter, the planet of expansion, right? Jupiter is a lucky planet. It brings good vibes. It's really about generosity, you know? And a lot of times when we are generous, when we give, we get it back. As above, so below. When we give, and we don't hold on to money, then we have the energy of letting it go and letting it exchange back and forth, right? So that's the energy of Jupiter. Seeing the big picture, being optimistic, coming from, you know, seeing the forest before the trees. I know I'm in a tough situation, but I know this situation is just preparing me for, you know, my highest good. That's that Jupiter energy, you know, connecting to your higher self, seeing it from the bird's eye view. Okay. Now Saturn is about improvement. So you kind of see it from the bird's eye view. And now you're like, ooh, what am I doing with my life? This is not what I signed up for. And now the Saturn energy is all about improvements, discipline, routine, structure. Saturn is a type of planet that when you expand with Jupiter, now you see the big picture and you're like, I need to quit my job. I can't do this anymore. Saturn is like, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's get our ducks in order yet. You know, let's take our time. Let's figure out a plan. You know, Saturn's going to hold you back, you know, because it's really that energy is for your highest good. And it almost holds you back for you to learn these lessons. And, you know, the Saturn energy is these hard lessons through love, you know, understanding your worth, right? There's boundaries. When people, you know, we let people take advantage of us and, you know, it happens over and over and over again. It's Saturn saying, learn this lesson, girl. Like, oh, I'm going to keep sending these people to you until you learn this lesson. You are not going to move forward and towards your sun in his highest expression without learning these lessons. And so Saturn in your chart will show you an area that might need some more structure. It might need more discipline, you know, based on that. So if you had Saturn in Leo, again, we would see that, wow, my creativity, I could be this super creative person, but I might hold myself back because I know that I need to work at this specific skill to really be what I want to be and be my brightest self kind of thing. So that's that energy of Saturn. It gets a bad rap. There's a lot of negativity when people talk about Saturn, but that is just what it is. When you can see every challenge as an opportunity to grow, your whole perspective changes, right? That's that Jupiter-Saturn combination. I'm going to see a broad perspective and understand that this challenge is only temporary and is preparing me you know, to propel to my highest good. So I'm just going to suck it up, do the things that I have to do in this Saturn energy, and to, you know, evolve and elevate kind of thing. Questions, comments? Okay. All right. So Jupiter rules Sagittarius. So now when we're trying to understand Sagittarius, well, what's that sign about? Let's think about Jupiter. We just said it's expansive, it's optimistic. You know, Sagittarius is all about exploring. It's all about understanding philosophy of life. I want to know, I want to search for meaning. Sagittarius are the you know, they want to search, they literally all are the explorers, and they do that in an outward way. Some Sagittarius get a bad rap, like that they're super sexual and they like are very, you know, promiscuous, but it's literally an exploration, you know, of the body. This is just kind of a fiery way of how a lot of Sagittarius live. They're all about freedom. So like, you're not going to tell me that you're not going to put a Sagittarius in a box, you know. They're going to expand that Jupiter energy, blowing it up, you know, enthusiastic, universal. I want to understand the meaning of everything so I can see where I fit with this everything in life. So very go with the flow, you know. Sagittarius is not like a Virgo, right? A Virgo is like, wait a second, let me plan all these steps and then I'm gonna get back to you in a week because I need the plan right. Sagittarius is like, when are we going? I don't care. I'll bring, you know, two outfits. I'll buy the rest. They don't care. They're just down and you know, ready to go. So I love Sagittarius. They're a lot of fun. And now we have Saturn ruling Capricorn. So pretty much the opposite of fun is Capricorn. And Capricorn, you know, like I said, Saturn. So Saturn, we think of Saturn like the reality police, right? Like, you know, I want to be a star. I have a music studio at my house. And then Saturn comes through and says, girl, you're tripping. Like, you got to do this, and this. You need to connect. You got to do some voice lessons. You are all right at the piano. You're not even, you know, that's Saturn telling you all the things that you have to do to elevate to being whatever that thing is you want to be. But it's not going to come easy. So that's the same energy as Capricorn. You hear like Capricorns are the managers. They thrive off of hitting goals, setting routines, using that Saturn energy, right? Saturn energy is about, you know, you have a checklist. It never ends with Saturn, because Sag is like, hey, let's go do some things, right? Who cares about the homework? You know, the Capricorn energy is like, no, we're going to do the homework, and then we're going to clean the house, and then we're going to, you know, meal prep for all next week, and then you could go out. That's that Capricorn energy there. So organized, driven, stable, grounded. These people don't like to play around. They're very driven. They, you know, they're really good at manager positions, you know. And so it's interesting, like if you had Venus, the planet of love, in this Capricorn sign, now I'm like, I know my lessons in love are going to be hard lessons. They're going to be uphill battles. I'm gonna have to learn how to establish boundaries. I'm gonna have to hit goals and see what I really want about somebody, because Saturn's not going to allow me to actually get this love that I want, because it's in this, you know, energy of Capricorn. It's in this expression of, nah, you're going to do all these things first before you're allowed to move forward, kind of thing. All right. So now it's going to get kind of interesting. So we have that Jupiter, Saturn as those bridge planets, right? Between the inner planets, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars. And then, so they're the bridge. They say, hey, Uranus, Neptune, what y'all talking about? Let me take that information and translate it so that these people can understand what that means. And, you know, when you think about Uranus, we're talking about like wisdom, this quick wit. This is like very, very quick. And we think about, so when we think about the outer planets, right? We think deeper into the subconscious, into the unconscious, into those things that are hard to explain. I'm having dreams that people keep busting in my house at night. What is that about? That's going to be in this energy, in these outer planets. It's going to be hard to understand those dreams with the inner planets, because the inner planets are really more so kind of about our day-to-day, our conscious mind, how we live in that energy. But these outer planets are much more difficult to understand. There are the signposts. They are the synchronicities that we see. They are, oh my gosh, these 5 birds keep coming to my house and just staring at me in the window. What is that about? There's a message in that. That's in this energy. So it's very difficult to pinpoint. And like I said, when you're looking at astrology, you have to look at everything as a whole. So these are like the subtle things that we feel. And the more we can be aware, the more we can align to the subtleties and see the messages that happen around us, right? So Uranus, all about evolution. This is like the evolutionary warrior for the people, by the people, rebellious. This is the energy of like, nah, we're gonna, Black Lives Matter kind of thing. What you guys are doing, like you guys have the energy of Uranus. I'm gonna fight for the brotherhood, for the sisterhood, for the people. That's that, to evolve the whole thing, So it's all about individuals and collective. Like, I'm going to help the individual to help the collective as a whole. I'm going to fight for the little man so that I can change this policy for everything. So it's definitely, your spark vibe there, and spiritual wisdom. So like I said, that quick insight, you get that quick deja vu and you're like, I've been here before. That's that Uranus energy. It comes quick. It's like a quick opening of the veil and then it closes. And it's our job to be aware of that, and try to record it, write it down, whatever you have to be, to capture the messages that come in these outer planets, because they're very subtle. We talk about Neptune. Now we're in our dreams, right? Neptune rules Pisces. Pisces is all about dreaming, visions, poetry, so that Neptune energy is romantic. It's very imaginative, they're very deep. Sometimes Neptunian kind of people have like a darker, mysterious kind of look to them. They're very passionate people, but they're about transcending themselves. They're about, what's beyond me, right? Like we are in the world, but Neptune would be the world, the galaxy, what's way bigger and broader than ourselves. And, explain better here when we think about, let's go back to Uranus here. Uranus rules Aquarius. So remember, Uranus, evolution, innovation, rebellion. Aquarius, independent. Aquarius is all about them. They're kind of detached. They're in their head a little bit. They're very intellectual. They like to connect, but only on their own time. Again, rebellious. They're not going to fit in. They're going to do their own thing. They're ruled by Uranus, same energy, same vibe. On the low vibrating side, yeah, they can be kind of disconnected. It's difficult for the air signs to relate. You have to get down to earth, to get out of their own head and say, okay, yeah, I feel you. Let me, think about what you're saying and try to like make me understand by talking to you in that way. It's a little bit more difficult because they're like in their head and they're rebellious. They have this rebellious energy of Uranus. So like, I'm not listening to you. I'm gonna do my own thing. But they're about universal connection. So back to that Uranus energy, the brotherhood, doing the thing, doing it for the man, but the little man, not the big man kind of thing. And Neptune, like I said, rules Pisces, intuitive dreamer, right? So Pisces is, we're magical people. They are the healers. They are the ones that are the mystics. They have that connection to the other side. You see a lot of that energy and kind of spiritual people or mystical people, but everyone has, some form of Neptune in their chart. So you may not have anything specifically in Pisces, right? But you have Neptune. So you have the energy of the Pisces expression in that planet, but Neptune could be in Capricorn, let's say. And now your creativity, your intuition, your dreams are going to be process oriented or goal oriented. It's going to be kind of slow, uphill battle in this Capricorn-y kind of way, but it's the energy of Neptune, same energy, different expression. Denzel now playing the role of Pisces, right? So very emotional. And, like I said earlier, it's like a fine line with Neptune because you can escape by meditating, So one thing I do is I take shamanic journeys, which is basically like a meditation journey in your mind where you're still here, but you leave kind of thing. And I do that for other people so that I can understand the things that they need, the information they need, kind of getting that from the other side. That's a very Neptunian energy, but with that, it could be, I could be excessive doing that. I could try to escape my regular life and not go to my job because I have more fun meditating, so it's a fine line on the Neptune piece. Okay, and the last planet here in the zodiac is Pluto. Pluto is all about transformation. So, for us as a vibration, Pluto, is in Capricorn, right now. And it's actually it has not been here in 250 years. And Capricorn is also all about structure, right? So you are seeing the energy of Pluto. All of the structures, all the things that we haven't dealt with are all coming back to transform. But the way that Pluto works, and this is a good explanation that, I got from a psychological astrologer, is that, Saturn will like pull your arm behind your back and say, no, you're going to do it. And then you do it. Pluto is going to pull your arm behind your back and break your arm. It's going to go all the way there because it's not going to teach. It's not here to teach nobody, it's time for you to do it. And I'm going to force you to do it by tearing everything down around you so that you can rebuild. And that's that Pluto energy. So it can be destructive, but let's say you're in a relationship that you shouldn't be in. It's going to get to the lowest, most destructive point for you to understand it's time for me to let that go. And it had to be that way because let's say Pluto's in Taurus and your connections with people just happen to be, transformative and super powerful. Pluto rules Scorpio. So, this is a generational planet, so a generational sign placement. So all of us have Pluto and Scorpio kind of thing. And so, Scorpio is a water sign, inward, yin energy, but now, so I'm transforming these deep connections, so Gemini is just like, oh, that's like on the surface connection, like platonic, hey, how you been, whatever. Now, when we think about Scorpio connections, that's like your twin flame love. That's your deep, like, I've always been with this person. I don't know what it is. It's just this thing that is unsaid and unspoken. And I don't know what it is, but that's the energy of Scorpio. That's the expression of Scorpio. And it's all about transforming through these connections, peeling everything back in that Plutonian way. I'm gonna peel back all these layers. It's gonna be painful and my arm is gonna break. But when I build that arm back up, it's gonna be stronger than ever. And never again will I allow somebody to treat me this way. Never again will I, accept this kind of communication or whatever the case may be. But you had to tear everything down, for this intense soul growth in order for your soul to grow. And the last thing is the houses. So we talked about the planets, we talked about the signs, and now the houses. So the houses are where the action happens. Okay, so I know there's a lot of words on here, but we're gonna take something simple, the first house, right? So the first house, let's assume we'll throw Pluto since we're just talking about Pluto. If you had Pluto in the first house, the first house is all about yourself. So this is, your body, your identity, your image, everything associated with how you carry yourself, all of that. Let's say you have Pluto there. So now you are going to be a transformative person. You might change the way you dress all the time because you have this Pluto in here. The way that you interact with people could be very destructive or very deep, depending on how you're expressing that, the sign that it's in kind of thing. And one way to remember the houses is the signs, because the houses actually have natural rulers of each house, which are the signs. And it just helps you because you'll know, okay, Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It naturally rules the first house. What is Aries about? Oh, it's about myself. It's about initiating action. It's all about me. Okay, that's what this first house is all about. It's all about me. Second house, it's all about values. Naturally ruled by Taurus. It's all about creating material security. It's about self-worth. It's, so we think about Taurus, and then that helps us understand what Taurus, the sign expression is. It's the expression of the second house. And it's kind of an easy way to tie everything together and remember these things. Third house is all about communication, right? It's Gemini, so it's all about thinking, learning, speaking, writing, Fourth house, all about the home life. So that little emotional Cancer is ruled by Cancer. It's all about private, mom, dad, family, how I feel about things. That's what you're going to find in the fourth house. And a lot of times, when we see people who need some inner child care, we look at the fourth house because it's going to tell me how your childhood was. If Saturn was there, I could assume it was kind of restrictive. You know, if Jupiter was there, I can be like, wow, you might have moved a lot and expanded your childhood life because Jupiter, that planet of expansion, is there, right? Fifth house, all about creativity, ruled by Leo. Remember, that creative, entertainer, expressive, you know, all about kind of, you know, expressing. Leos want to be seen. So the fifth house is all about creating things, you know, to be seen. Sixth house, that Virgo vibe, you know, self-improvement, service to other people. Virgos are very giving people. You know, that kind of aligns to that sixth house. Seventh house is partnerships. So notice how the seventh house is opposite the first house. So first house is the house of self. And now the seventh house is my house of partnerships. So I'm seeing myself through my partner's eyes, opposite, you know, and it's Libra, all about balance, you know, balancing your needs with my needs. You know, eighth house. I know it's out. I have a couple more houses to go and I'll let you guys head out here. Eighth house is a transformative. So remember when we talked about Scorpio, we talked about Pluto, that transformation. This is like, you know, your higher vibrational things of transcendence, you know, your higher mind. That's that eighth. And you can see renewal, you know, all that Scorpio vibe, tearing it down to remake it better. Ninth house is Sagittarius, all about you know, searching for meaning. Remember, we were talking about the sign of Sag and, you know, exploring things. So this is where you can see, I want to have, you know, go to college and expand my mind, or I want to be a shaman and expand my spirituality. And I'm going to do that in the ninth house. And then the 10th house is my most outer self, opposite the fourth, right? The fourth house was Cancer, my inner self, my home life, my private life. The 10th house is my public life. What people see, my career, what I want to be when I grow up. That energy is Capricorn, the manager, best place for Capricorn. Because if you want to be something, you need that energy of Saturn to say, hey, these are the things you got to do to be great. You know, I want that energy in my 10th house. 11th house is, you know, that collective vibe, that Aquarius vibe. So organizations. And Aileen, did they actually have, did we briefly look, didn't they have Uranus in Aquarius?
Yes, they did. Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of looked at the spark chart and it was interesting. You guys had the planet of, you know, brotherhood and working for the man, the little man in Aquarius, in the society humanitarian house. It's like the best placement, you know, so it just shows that you guys are spiritually aligned as an organization kind of thing. And yeah, so that was kind of cool. And then the last house is 12th house. And this one is like a mysterious house. If you see people that have a bunch of, you know, you are looking at your chart, you see a bunch of planets in the 12th house, I could assume like, wow, this person probably has crazy dreams because all this energy is in this hidden, subconscious, you know, repressed part. This is where, you know, our deep, dark fears are, you know, and our trust, you know, all that Piscean creativity, you know, kind of thing. In that 12th house. And those are houses, so those are the setting. So remember, when you look at your chart, look at it as a whole, and you can see, okay, where are the pieces of the pie, you know? You know, if we look at this like a pizza, right? Where are the pepperonis? Where are the vegetables? And we can see, you know, how much energy are in these different parts of our personality. And then that will show, you know, how we bring in energy and how we express. Okay. So that's all I got.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much. and that's wild that, you know, you said spark is where? Like there are.
Yeah, you guys have Uranus and Aquarius, which is in the ruler, right? So you guys are aligned when you asked that question earlier, which is kind of ironic of planets being in the sign it's ruled by. Yeah. That is the energy. So it's almost like, you know, it's kind of a perfect alignment for what you guys want to do as an organization. And you don't have to try. That's the energy that's here already, that you guys want to help people and connect people. It's already there. It's written in the stars, you know, kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, it was fun. You know, you can hit us up at you know, vibes@thesoullab.com, or you can just go to thesoullab.com. And, you know, while the soul sessions are still free, I would encourage you to book one. It's mostly on the weekends and kind of in the afternoon time for you guys. Also, feel free to check out the blog. We got a lot of great content on there. We try to update that with at least 4 to 5 different posts every month. And yeah, let us know you have any questions. If any questions about like what was presented today, and you're like, hey, Tay, I just need, what is this and this? And feel free, we'll write you back and all that good stuff because we love chatting with people. So yeah.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Would you like read, I don't know how in depth or how much like ahead of time you need to know like someone's chart and stuff like that, but would you be able to do multiple people in like one reading?
In one?
Mm-hmm. Like in one session?
I could, like, I think it just depends on the goal. Cause like if you were, let's say you wanted to do some kind of synergy, like with your partner, right? That's good. Cause then I can look at both the charts together, but the charts are so individual that, mostly it's like, you do it one-on-one, but you could do it in a group to see all your charts together. Like I have this friend group, we're all energetically aligned. And I can see that in all the charts. But it also really just depends on the depth you want to go in. Some people just want to know like, hey, can you tell me what I'm good at or what kind of job I should be in or whatever. And, that's pretty simple that, I could do that as a group for sure. But if you're like, I'm on a spiritual journey and I want to heal, and, it's probably something best one-on-one kind of thing. But yeah, a couple of days, I only really need, like a day in advance, enough time. And as you sign up, you'll see that it's just a series of questions like I need your birth time. It's very important. You can get that off your birth certificate. So birth time, city and state, and birth time, city and state, birthday, of course. Am I missing anything, Aileen? I don't think so. Yeah, that's all I need. And then, Aileen and I will talk about your chart. We had a lot of sessions back to back here, so we've done less and less time, but just a day really to kind of look at your stuff, and you can sign up. And yeah, we can do multiple people. I just did a brother and sister over the weekend, which was kind of cool. And we didn't even know they were brother and sister because they didn't use their last names. And Aileen's like, these people are so compatible. Like they could date. Like these strangers are like, just so compatible. And they were freaking brother and sister. So, yeah.
And Carter, if you go on the soulab.com and look at the soul sessions, all your friends could, technically could, just sign up and pick a day that's, free for them, and they can check it out that way too.
Yeah. If you're gonna do multiple, just give us a heads up so then we can prepare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. This was a ton of information, but all of it was great. Thanks for y'all's time.
Yeah, no problem. And I hope it was easy to digest. I know it was a lot. It was like probably a 101, 2, and 3, but I wanted you guys to get, a good kind of foundation so that now you have a little something you can chew on. And I'm happy to send out the slides and let you guys know, any questions or anything like that. And then you feel free to sign up on our mailing list. One cool thing that we do on a weekly basis is send out the vibes of the sky. So, it's kind of like your horoscope, for lack of better. And we look at, okay, from a collective perspective, what does the sky look like right now? Right now, Pluto's in Capricorn. So it's going to be hard, transformative kind of work related to the structures in our life. But it's going to be subtle because it's an outer planet. Oh, and this week, the sun is going to be in Aries. So this is a great time for you to take initiative and start, doing the things you want to do or work out and so on. So we send that out on a weekly basis. Pretty cool. And just to hit us up if you have any questions, you want to book a soul session, if you want to do anything kind of related to the stuff that we provide, let us know. And also, if you want to learn other things, we've got, we're also, we do some numerology and as well. And the numbers are it's all connected, but it's a totally another rabbit hole that would take me probably another 2 hours to do with you guys. So hit us up.
Again, thank you so much. Visit Soul Lab's website, hit them up. This has been really, really informative, and thank everyone for joining us. Thank you, Tay and Amy. This was amazing.
Awesome. Yeah, and Akbo, I'll send you the slides after this.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks guys. We appreciate it.
Hope to see you again, honestly. Everyone have a great rest of your evening, or for those on the West Coast, rest of your day.
All right, awesome. Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.